What happens when you are almost finished with a design in Procreate, but then you decide you want a different color? Don't worry, it's simple. I'll show you 2 ways to approach it in this video. You can decide which one works best for your design.
Hi everybody, I'm Stacie Bloomfield. As I introduce myself always, even to my kids, I tell them I'm Stacie Bloomfield. So we've talked about alpha lock a couple of times, but here's an example of some strawberries that I drew. And I want to show you 2 ways to change the colors all at once. One is using the alpha lock and one is using a clipping mask again. So I have already kind of prepared this so we can demo it. So I want to change the color of my strawberries because they're pretty muted. So first of all, oh, I should have reset this. Okay. Imagine now, whoa, there was nothing there already. All right, I'm selecting my layer that has my strawberry art on it. And what you can do is you can use a gesture, which you know I don't love gestures, but I'm going to just do it for you because you're here and you want to learn it. So we're going to take the layer that we've selected and we're just going to use 2 fingers. There it is. Okay. So we take the layer and we're going to use 2 fingers, and we're going to just swipe right. Just don't hold it down because then you're going to pull up your little toolkit that pops up. Okay, so layers, layer selected that we want to use. Here's the gesture, 2 fingers quickly, whoop, and you'll see this checker box shows up. That means your alpha lock is turned on. So now we can select another color from up here. And with that layer still selected, we're going to tap it and we're going to click fill layer. And there it is. There is our strawberry. So let's see if that makes sense. It should. If I want to change it again, fill layer. If I want to change it again, fill layer. We have to make sure that alpha lock is turned on. Otherwise, it will do this. Fill layer and everything turns blue. We don't want that. All right. So now I'm going to hide this and I'm going to pull up another example of how to do it. So I have this layer here. And if I want to change the colors in a less destructive way, we're going to do another clipping mask. So we're going to make a new little layer right here. Sorry. And I'm going to select clipping mask. And now I'm going to fill. And now we have, I can hide the clipping mask in the original colors there, but I can change the color using the clipping mask. So those are 2 ways to change all the layer at once. I actually really love the clipping mask method because you can test colors and you can kind of like, instead of having to duplicate your layer all like several times with different color versions, you can just like, play with your clipping mask. Boop. I've not seen any blue strawberries except for at Sonic or something like, I guess that's blue raspberry, but you get the point. That's 2 ways to change colors. This is a design I've never used anywhere, PS. I made it years ago, and it's a little busy, but I've had fun. I never found a good use for it. It's a little bit awkward, but it's also really fun, but it's also kind of chaotic. I don't know if you ever feel that way about your art. All right, let's come back to my face. I see some technical questions about issues with Apple pencils, and I'm going to tell you that like, unless you're using a specific like the actual Apple pencil, I will tell you that off-brand pencils that are styluses have a lot of issues. If you're ever having trouble with it feeling like your Apple pencil just is not working, you need to check your tip. Sometimes I push so hard on my tip that the edge will wear off and it'll be like inconsistent with how it flows on my screen, even if I'm using like a really nice like paper-like cover. So always make sure first of all that it's screwed all the way in. So like you can unscrew the tip pretty easily. And depending on how you work and the angle you work at, it can come loose a lot. So make sure it's tightened. Make sure you haven't worn off the kind of plastic edge coating that's on the tip of that. And one other thing I'll say is if you're ever struggling to know if it's a you thing or if it's like an equipment thing, if you have a friend or someone who also has an iPad with Procreate, you can always pair your pencil to their iPad and see if the problem's still happening there. And so if it's happening on any iPad, it's a pen issue. If it's only happening on your iPad, that means it is your iPad issue. And that means that we have different things we need to do to troubleshoot. Now, if you don't know anyone with an iPad, I know that's more challenging, but when you join communities like this, you'd be shocked at how close you are to people who might know where to point you in the right direction. And if you happen to be the fortunate soul who lives near an Apple store, which I'm not, you can always go into your Apple store and get some help with that too for your Apple Pencil.
If this walkthrough helped, try it out on one of your designs. And if you have questions as you're working, drop them in the comments. Subscribe for more tips on art and art business.
We'll call it a day, and we'll see you later. Bye.